Tucked away in the foothills of the eastern Himalayas is the Indian state of Meghalaya, which in Sanskrit translates to the abode of the clouds. The state is a mountainous plateau approximately 300 kilometres in length and 100 kilometres wide, with elevations approaching 2,000 metres. The Meghalayan people are split into three main tribal groups, which are named after the three hill regions: the Jantias, the Khazis and the Garos. The predominant religion is Christianity, introduced by Welsh missionaries in the 19th century, and the society is matriarchal, with inheritance being passed from the mother to the youngest daughter. Meghalaya experiences a tropical monsoon climate and is generally comfortably warm in the summer and cold in the winter. The Khazi Hills area has an annual rainfall of 12 metres, making it one of the wettest places on Earth. This fact, plus the abundance of limestone, make the area especially interesting to cavers. Regular caving expeditions began in 1992, and in 1994 contact was made with the Meghalayan Adventurers Association, with whom strong ties have since been forged. The expedition starts from the equipment store provided by the Indian cavers in the bustling hill town of Shillong, the capital of Meghalaya. The 2004 trip saw a smaller team than usual, with 17 European and 7 Indian cavers taking part at various times during the 4-week period in February-March. This year's trip was based to the east of the state in the Jantia Hills, continuing work on the Nongkalai Ridge. The journey up to the ridge takes a gruelling 6 hours, travelling through an area of coalfields and industrial towns, on roads that make caving appear relatively safe in comparison. The ridge has a very dense concentration of caves and has yielded 100 kilometres of cave passage in the past 4 years in an area only 10 kilometres long by 3 kilometres wide. 3 significant leads were left in this area from the 2003 expedition: Krem Sinrang Labit, Krem Im and Krem Nap. Each of these caves had been left with beckoning unexplored passages. The first of these caves to receive attention was Krem Sinrang Labit, which had been left with both up and downstream passages ongoing, and a number of side leads to explore. Unfortunately, both the up and downstreams ended very quickly in deep sump pools. However, the side passages proved to be extensive, keeping various members of the team busy throughout the entire expedition, and included the large, sparkly Bollywood chamber.
It's 128.
28.
2.6 kilometres was surveyed, which brought the total length of the cave to 4.3 kilometres. Meanwhile, other team members had been prospecting in Daistong and Wa Alien, and had noted a number of good sites to be investigated further. Lots of interesting sites along the ridge were looked at, one of which was Krem Bun, named after the young local guide who showed us the entrance. A free climb down into a gully led to a nice dry shaft.
God, blimey, this rope goes.
The cave continued on at the bottom of the pitch through a low section, before it opened out into walking passage. A couple of shorter drops then led to the head of a 70-metre pitch. Ready?
Yeah.
Now. This pitch was descended the following day, but disappointingly ended in a choke. The total surveyed length was a mere 200 metres.
136.
Sorry, 136.
136, yeah.
The second lead from last year, Krem Im, was descended, and the large, very wet phreatic tunnel at the end was explored downstream into a dry section of cave thought to be in Kremliat Pra, which was found in 2002. This caused some excitement in the camp, as it meant that the as yet unexplored upstream passage in Krem Im was now upstream Kremliat Pra, and could well prove to be a major system.
There's a big inlet, huge.
So there's a big inlet feeding those canals down.
There's very little water coming out of that inlet. The main thing is still stretching on. The main water is stretching
again.
Right.
And we're back into water.
Uh-huh.
So we got out of the water
And back into it.
into big boulders now, big huge boulders.
At the end of Kremliat Pra, a daylight shaft had been noted by a large stalagmite formation named the Snowman. In 2003, a search had been made on the surface for the Snowman's pot, without success, the area being totally choked with jungle and vicious undergrowth. Efforts were now made once again to locate the shaft, as it would provide a much easier entrance to this part of the system. Another team went into Kremliat Pra to link the survey to Krem Im. Locating Kremliat Pra proved to be a little tricky, as during the last 2 years severe deforestation had taken place, totally changing the appearance of the entrance. Once found, it was also discovered that the GPS coordinates were approximately 100 metres out. A large group headed in, including a few local Meghalayans, on their first ever caving trip. The main passage in Kremliat Pra is typically very large and dry, with an active streamway in the floor and huge mud banks up to the sides. A fair way into the cave can be found the remains of drilling grots, which were lost by geologists on the surface when they inadvertently drilled their borehole through the roof of the cave. The connection from Kremliat Pra to Krem Im was duly established, and the surveys were linked.
Will you come down to here and put your light?
A little further on led to the Snowman formation and an obscure route through to the base of the daylight shaft.
Jesus, Nicky, you're really testing me. Oh, thanks very much.
See what I mean? He wouldn't have found it.
That's a fat man squeeze. Okay, I've cleaned the passage for the next person.
This is quite an interesting squeeze, and a bit of a shock for the Meghalayans, who up until now had thought that caving was just a walk in the dark. The formations in the snowman's land were admired before a swift exit was made to rendezvous with the jeep and return to the delights of the ridge camp. A new GPS position for the snowman's pot was calculated, and a hole found on the surface, named Lowman's Pot, was descended to drop into the cave near to the snowman. This new entrance made access to further exploration much easier, and as the survey progressed upstream, other sites began to look more interesting, one of which was a large dough line nicknamed the Lost World.
SRT. SLT. Single Leona technique. Mark.
This was first explored by Tony Boycott, as he squeezed down between truck-sized boulders in a huge choke following a howling draft. The boulder choke was descended vertically for approximately 70 metres before it started to open out and the clambering down turned into pitches.
We have to stop after the next leg anyway. I've got real cave wall here.
Whereabouts?
Well, that is real cave wall.
Are you sure?
No, but probably.
It looks like a big...
Looks like a cave wall.
It
like cave wall.
does, but it looks like a big boulder as well.
It used to be cave wall. They can hear the sound of a big river through a big black hole, but they can't get down that last pitch.
Right.
If it is the last pitch, it might not be.
From the top, there's nothing but black behind it. And you can hear the stream roaring away.
How far below?
It's hard to tell because the hole is square, but you can tell by the sound it's probably, I don't know, about 30 metres from there. So.
What do we get? Down this climb, down another one, 30-foot pitch, which you've got a ladder on and a lifeline. There's a big shaft. The ladder goes to halfway down it. That drops down to another chamber. And in the distance you've got a square hole with the noise of the stream coming out.
The following day saw a well-equipped team re-enter the Lost World in order to rig the pitches.
Is that what you found?
Yeah, did exactly what you were doing.
Come on, bloody tag.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
the impressions of the entrance so far?
It's like a bloody mouse trap. As long as nobody touches the spring on the way out, we'll be fine.
It'd be nice when we get down there, John. It's about another 40, 50 feet down this bit. And off to your left is a square window and you can hear the river at the bottom. That's your limit.
That we're after having descended from the last pitch, which is we're here down about 100 metres from the top of the Dolin. We've come across a streamway now. I think it sumps just up this way here. There may be another way of dropping it through a shaft up above that might need to be chiselled. That way goes on the watercourse. This is an oxbow, and then about 30 metres from here the passage gets rather large. Ooh, a little back.
Oh, shit. Just...
Getting very wet.
The streamway at the bottom was explored downstream, and the team surveyed for 350 metres before the water disappeared into a collapse area with no obvious way on.
Got in about 20-30 metres to the boulder roughly. Hollow all these round polished ones here is still moving. The water's underneath little pools. You just can't, there's no obvious way on at all now. Just stream and see if anybody finds it in one of the other stream caves. That was roughly the magic.
Fluorescent dye was used to try to establish a connection with the upstream passage in the Kremliat Par Inn system.
That'd be enough, wouldn't it?
While the Lost World was being explored, a group of 6 people broke camp and set off to spend a couple of days based in another village called Samasi, over on the other side of the valley. Once down off the ridge, the industrial traffic was encountered, which makes any travel in this area quite long and arduous, over even short journeys. The village headman, Mr. Bicken Passlane, was very helpful and enthusiastic, and after an obligatory cup of tea, they were quickly settled into the village inspection bungalow. The group were shown a number of entrances close to the village, and split into 2 teams, one surveying 900 metres to the end of Krem Kdong Samasi, and the other exploring in Krem Ting Heng, whose large entrance at the base of a hill was surprisingly a sink and not a resurgence as it had first appeared. It was soon clear that more trips were going to be needed in Krentingheng, and by the end of the expedition, the cave had reached a surveyed length of 3.7 kilometres and was still ongoing with much potential for another large system. After 2 days, the group packed up and returned back through the traffic to the ridge camp. After being held up in a traffic jam, they arrived late to find the camp strangely deserted, with dinner sitting untouched on the table. The mystery was soon solved when screams of excitement wafted up from the shower area, where a rather ramshackle-looking tent affair turned out to be a homemade sauna.
Yeah, the sauna was pretty impressive actually. Wasn't it, Peter? It was. Oh.
Those who weren't tempted by the sauna were treated to an impromptu folk music session by some of the local villagers. Back in the Lost World, a team entering via Lohmann's Pot had duly located the fluorescin and found a way through the boulders to make the connection with the Kremliat Pra system. Attention then turned to finding the way on upstream. Moving a key boulder at the base of the last pitch revealed a squalid passage at the bottom, in places reaching waist deep in soft silty mud.
It's only half water, the rest of it's mud. Oh, it's more than half mud.
This shortly opened back out into a huge passage, and the cave romped off again.
Plus 2. Okay. Okay. Yeah, right.
I'll drop it down this side then.
The passageways reached grand proportions before all the leads once again closed down into boulder chokes. The surveyed length of the Kremliat Pra system now stands at a total of 14.8 kilometres, making it the second longest cave in India, and with great potential for further connections to other caves along the ridge. The time came to pack up and leave the camp. A long journey back in the traffic took us to Shillong for a day to spend sorting equipment and souvenir shopping. Then we headed off to a farewell party which had been organised by the Meghalayans. We ate our fill. While the beer flowed, the band played.
Do you want a song from Ireland?
Yes!
And everybody danced. The expedition ended in fine style, with the party continuing on into the early hours. A total of 17 kilometres of new cave passage was surveyed, and the third lead from 2003, Kremp Nap, was left undescended this year, awaiting the return of cavers in 2005.